Babe, come check it out, right? There's these couple of tiny birds outside, and I swear they're really into my music. They keep, like, hopping around in time to the beat.
Oh, right. Yeah, you don't reckon they're on something, do you?
I wouldn't put it past them. Proper party animals. What are you doing back?
Well, while you've been holding a rave for the local blue tits, I might have landed you a new job.
The talk of the street.
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 Hello and welcome to episode 162 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that's so impressive how the show is picking up some of our favourite loose ends. Maybe that factory roof business will be put to bed at some point before the 70th anniversary. I'm Gavin.
And I really should have put a mask on before riding that roller coaster.
Yeah, you should. Do you think that's what did it? It was the roller coaster what done it?
I don't know. I mean,
It wouldn't surprise me.
Lots of screamy people behind me screaming and getting spit pellets all over me. Back of me head.
No, it's the people that are in front of you that you're going into, surely.
But we were in the front, weren't we?
No.
There were people in front of us?
Yeah, we were halfway down.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
In fact, we were close at the end, I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. I have strep throat. I don't have the COVID, but I do have strep throat. Because we went to visit one of the states of the union with the fewest numbers of people who have been vaccinated. And so I'm sure that they're not doing a very good job of keeping themselves healthy in other ways. So I have strep throat and an ear infection, but it's really the strep throat that's...
Well, it's a month with a J in it, which means, of course, you've got an ear infection. I hadn't heard of strep throat until I moved here.
It's mostly, like I was saying to you...
I don't know. I honestly don't really know what it is.
I said to you last night, that I don't think I've had strep for like 30, 40 years because it's mostly something that you get as a child mostly. And you don't really hear of adults getting strep throat very often. So they test for it all the time, but...
Because it's billable.
Right. Welcome to America.
Mm-hmm.
And America's healthcare system.
Yeah, I've got an ingrown toenail. Well, we better test you for strep first. Okay. Sure. No, is it tonsillitis? Is that what it is?
No, because tonsillitis is tonsillitis.
Well, that's what I thought.
And I've never had tonsillitis because I still have my tonsils.
So did I.
Yeah.
It's been years since I've had tonsillitis.
Yeah.
Years and years.
Nick had tonsillitis as a child. That's why he no longer has tonsils or adenoids.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just, the back of your throat gets all cakey and white and red and stuff, which sounds delightful, but
that sounds like a sore throat. Is that what it is? Just a sore throat?
Well, it's more than a sore throat because a sore throat is a sore throat. This is...
Doctor, you're baffling me here. Dumb it down a little.
It's not as bad as, my doctor looked at my ear and said, yep, it's red and bulging in there, which is just one of the most delightful things.
Just to be clear, that's the inside of your ear.
The most delightful things a doctor has ever said to me since my gastroenterologist told me that my cancerous polyp looked like a phallus.
Well, at least your gastroenterologist didn't say it's red and bulging. Well, not this time anyway.
No, he just showed me the pictures.
Paints a picture.
How are you? You're healthy.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, you're all right. I'm not. We had a nice end of our visit after Dollywood. We went and saw some more dead presidents. We unfortunately missed Graceland, which makes me sad.
Yeah. We had a miscalculation of Tennessee presidents that required immediate fixing.
Yeah. But in the end, it took like all of 5 minutes to get those other two that we did see in. So we probably could have gone to Graceland and then gone back up to Nashville.
Yeah, it took 5 minutes to do them. It took like 4 hours to drive there. Oh, detail.
I did the driving that day, so
Nah,
I wouldn't have minded.
didn't go quicker. But no, we got Zachary Taylor,
Yes.
the last Whig president.
The last wig.
And who was the other one?
A polk.
Polk.
Yes.
Inventor of the polka.
Yeah. Supporter of Manifest Destiny
Yeah.
and slave owner.
If there's one thing about Southern presidents from before the Civil War,
You know they've owned a slave or two, and that makes it all the more uncomfortable
yeah.
to visit. It's funny because I still haven't even posted my Andrew Jackson pictures because it upsets me so much because he was such an evil man. And the fact that the part of the display that talked about his presidency and the Trail of Tears and stuff was closed off while we were there
Yeah.
seemed a little
Convenient,
suspect.
right?
Conveniently, they ended the display at, Hero of the Battle of New Orleans.
When will this part of the display be open? Well, it'll be open on the... Oh, okay.
It'll be open when, it's only white people here today. Because there were I noticed some Native American people there
Yes.
when we got there. I kind of imagined
Those
somebody...
frowning people.
I imagine somebody slipping out the back of the ticket booth to just go and hang aside and lock the door
Quick.
when they see people who are
Shut it
not
down.
white show up.
Shut it all down.
Although, to be fair, they did have some books on the Trail of Tears in the gift shop.
Yeah, there was a little corner section that was dedicated to history that
And also,
we weren't going to talk about anywhere else.
inexplicably, some happy books about, making picture books about making fry bread and stuff. And it's like, this man committed genocide against Native Americans. Is this really the best place? It's like when we went to Monticello and they had Harriet Tubman Christmas ornaments in their gift shop. And I was like, really?
But we're back now.
But yeah, we're back home now. It's been very hot, and now it's not. Now it's nice,
I've got my kit back.
and I'd like to go outside and garden and do stuff. But unfortunately, I'm sick, so of course, it's nice. Although the mosquitoes seem quite heavy.
Oh, very prevalent.
Yeah, I blame the neighbor's pool and all the rain. Anyway,
But yeah, it was fun to record the episode on the road. But it's weird doing something differently when you don't rehearse it or we don't really prepare for this. We just we have our bits and we sit down and then we
you write down all your notes,
Well,
and I do Corey news.
yeah, but we don't run through it or anything like that.
Well,
the first
no.
time I read it out loud is the first time I read it out loud.
Yes, that's why.
That's why I fuck
commonly
it up
make
all the time.
mistakes.
Right. But no, it was interesting to do it a different way.
Yes, and we didn't get interrupted by housekeeping this time, like we did that one time that we recorded the podcast.
In Connecticut.
Was it? Yeah, in Connecticut.
It was in the La
Mystic.
Quinta.
Yes, the Mystic La Quinta, or was it
think so.
the Plainfield La Quinta? Anyway, yeah, that was fun. It's always fun to take the show on the road. I'm just glad I didn't have to crawl into a bathtub this time.
Right. It lasted an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Arguably, maybe there's a case for not writing any notes ever. No one's actually come out and said this. Actually, just don't bother doing your notes.
Yeah.
So I've done my notes.
Right.
But it makes you wonder.
I think it is better when you have notes because,
Gives it a bit more structure.
yeah.
Yeah, because that leads the conversation a little
Right.
bit.
I think there's got to be a happy medium between, heavy duty hardcore notes and the kind of just outline that you did last week.
Right.
Yes. We'll find it eventually when the show's like 10 years old. On our 10-year anniversary, we'll get it right.
Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Well, you'd better then give us some of that Royal Corrie news.
Spoiler alert.
A little.
I have to say that this particular news item was everywhere this week. It was in the Gettysburg Times.
Was it really?
And and the Philippine newspaper in the Philippines, and just all over. So
The Philippine newspaper, is that what it's called?
I can't remember. I'm sick. Leave me alone.
Oh no, I'm just
I don't remember what it's called.
genuinely curious. If
I
that
just
was what it was
noticed, and it was also in USA Today. So where
Well, that's USA
where they
Today.
had to explain what Coronation Street is, which was funny.
called. Well, they should be referring to the New York Times where
Where a certain Coronation Street podcaster was quoted in an article
not pointing at them with elbows or anything.
during the pandemic. That was fun. I'd like to do more of that kind of thing. I think we need an agent. Anyway, back to the news.
Yep.
Here come the Queen.
Here come the Queen.
Order in the courtroom. Here come the Queen. Liz McDonald may have left the cobbles, but the one true Liz has come to take her place, at least for a day.
Nicely done.
Thank you. Her Majesty made a visit to the set this week to meet the cast and crew and visit the Rovers for a cheeky wee pint. This is the Queen's second visit to Corrie, the first being in the 1980s at the original studios. So, and everybody looked really chuffed, including the Queen. She says she doesn't always get to watch Corrie, but, you know.
Yeah, 'cause she's
asked
queening.
yeah. And she asked everybody if they were nice, and they insisted they were. The pictures of the Alahans I thought were especially cute because Jimmy looked so chuffed, like you know, and proud, like this big proud dad with his kids meeting the Queen. It was so
Right.
cute. Loved it.
Kev was in a suit. My God, Kev was in a suit. I was so disappointed that Tyrone wasn't there in his Michigan State shirt.
Imagine all the people who have left the show that are now really disappointed that they left the show because they didn't get to meet the Queen.
Well, there was a couple of people that we follow on Twitter that work on the show, like production assistants and stuff like that. They were like, I take one day off.
Yeah.
And this is what happens.
Liam was there. I saw Liam in some of the pictures, and that's great. That means,
I hope we're getting some Liam back then.
yeah. Or Alex, as he is on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a clip that was taken, though, of... They're in the Rovers, and she's talking to Sally Ann Matthews. Mm-hmm. And, of course, as you're looking at it, she's not. She's talking to Jenny. Right? But she's talking to Jenny about, like, the pub trade and stuff. And it was almost like the Queen had kind of fallen into the mistake of misidentifying this as being real.
Right.
Because kind of talking about the Rovers and their trade like it was real during the pandemic.
Right.
Which amused me.
Yeah, it's like a crossover universe, isn't it?
Right.
It's like when the Kool-Aid Man showed up in Marvel Comics in the 70s, became a Marvel superhero. The Queen is now canon in the Coronation Street universe.
Right. Just like status quo.
Poor Beth. Lisa George has suffered a shoulder injury due to a session with her personal trainer. It has left her in agony for months, and she's unable to lift her left arm. Get well soon, Lisa. We miss our Beth.
I wonder if that's why she was just kind of fleeting
Yeah.
on the show the other week.
Yeah, apparently she can't even, like, dress herself.
Oh dear.
It hurts so bad.
Yikes.
So, yeah, that does not sound pleasant. This is why I don't have a personal trainer. And just
This is the
exercise.
reason, right?
Just exercise on my own.
Thank goodness. Thank
Final.
goodness you can dress yourself.
I mean, you have had to dress me in the past, like after surgeries and
This
stuff.
is for another podcast.
Finally, former Corrie star Nicola Thorpe has come out to criticize Love Island for coupling up men and women, with the men doing all of the picking. And yeah, I think we can all agree with Nicola that it's a bit gross, but it's been a bit gross for years.
I
So,
haven't really watched it.
I mean, the whole concept of Love Island is gross, but the concept of most reality TV shows like this
I
is
think I might have
gross.
seen a couple of episodes. It's Big Brother, where they take away the pretense that this isn't about getting people to hook up.
Right. Yeah, because like they immediately hook up. They're like, you know, the men go around and say, all right, you're with me. And they have, well, they don't have to sleep in the same bed, but they're supposed to sleep in the same bed until
Are they?
they like switch out.
This is on TV.
Yes, but apparently you can, if you're not comfortable, you can go sleep on the sofa, or I guess they have like these beds set up by the pool or something that you can go and sleep outside if you prefer not to sleep with the person you're coupled with.
You can sleep with the person that has chosen you to be coupled with.
Right.
Or you can sleep outside.
Yeah.
Is it on like a bumpy bit of ground with spikes in it? Or nails?
I don't know.
This sounds very problematic.
Yeah. In further Nicola news, Nicola will also be the face of Blackpool's new ad campaign, Blackpool is Back, to encourage tourism to come back to Blackpool after the pandemic. So, Nicola Thorpe, face of Blackpool. I know. And that's Corey News.
Whew. So close. And now we'll podcast for coffee. I'm beginning to regret saying that we had a embarrassment of riches a few weeks ago, because another week has passed where
No coffee.
no coffee. I'm drinking my coffee this week though out of a new and improved the Talk of the Street mug that has our mugs on it.
It's got our faces on it.
It's the new banner from Twitter. It's wrapped around a mug.
Yes.
Apparently I have nostrils. Never noticed that before.
I think we all have nostrils, don't we?
Yeah, I have nostrils.
Well, you know what they say about men with big nostrils in classic Greek philosophy.
Tell me more. If you want to buy us a coffee for next week's show, you can go to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. And you can buy us a coffee.
Please, I'm sick. I need all the fluids I can get.
And now, this.
Welcome.
Welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about Affectionate Narcissist.
No idea.
That's right, this was Nina's impression of Adam. She called him a affectionate narcissist.
Well, that's pretty accurate.
I was Gavin.
Of course, that could describe all of the Barlows, wouldn't it?
And most men.
Yeah.
I was Gavin.
You said it.
And you were mucho amore.
Oh, that's right. I watched that documentary about the psychic guy from the 70s and 80s from Puerto Rico.
Walter Mercado.
Yes, Walter Mercado.
I've never heard of him. I didn't really know what he was. I think I've gained more information about him from this brief little reprise of...
Did you not watch the documentary?
No.
It's so good. I kind of think I might watch that again.
In addition to usual complaints about allergies and the heat, we also discussed blood groups in our preamble.
Oh, nice.
We wondered whether chewing the scenery was a positive description or not. Sally catches up with some old friends at the prison and hears some stunning truths about Tim's dad. That was hilarious, remember? Mm-hmm. Sally knew the names of all the guards and used their first names to talk about, and kind of knew about their kids and stuff.
Right, yeah, that was funny.
Absolutely delightful. Leanne continues to push loved ones away, refuses help, and saves some of her harshest words for Toya. Kevin diagnoses a clutch problem to a man very much from Essex who is known to Abby. Laura the Chin starts laying down the law to Gary, forcing him to look at a legally binding and conveniently placed contract. Evelyn is scared of her feelings for Arthur, and Tyrone continues to make bring her home at a decent hour jokes to them. Oh, simpler times. Mm-hmm. Michael arranges a date with an on-again, off-again Grace, who is off again. Jenny doesn't want to speak to French Johnny. Kirk eats Michael's lunch. Faye says saws. Our moment of the week was Leanne breaking down in front of Nick about Oliver, and our boring moment of the week was Jenny not wanting to talk to Johnny. Mm. And that was Coronation Street and the Talk of the Street. This time, last year. Shall we dive in with you?
So it's shocking that Jenny and Johnny split up, isn't it?
Well, looking back to last year, there's quite a few things that are surprising.
I was being sarcastic.
Oh. Yeah, it's usually difficult to tell when you're being sarcastic. More so when you're not feeling well. Shall we dive in with you?
Yes, please.
Our first storyline this morning is Where There's a Will. On Monday, Billy and Todd are still being pricks to Summer, who wants to dinghy the diabetes appointment and go to the next
Because
one.
they don't want to prick her.
You can't expect Billy to do it 4 or 5 more times.
Right, yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me.
What? And Billy just sits there with a sad face, like, oh, yeah, this is
Yeah,
an imposition on me.
It's such an imposition to actually parent this child.
Right. When I've got a hole to beget.
Right.
So she wants to go to the next one, the next appointment, so she can attend this stupid party thing that Addy mentioned last week.
Right.
So she storms off, and Todd relegated to go after her because Billy has an appointment with the bishop, but not like that.
No.
Paul finds Summer in the community garden. She unloads on him as Todd turns up to remind her of the diabetes appointment again. Paul sympathises, and Summer admits that going to the appointment admits that her diabetes is a thing. And Paul offers to go with her to the appointment for support. Todd doesn't care.
No.
So Summer makes her appointment and asks Paul to go in with her. And Billy thanks Todd for taking Summer round, but he admits that he had fuck all to do with it. This is all Paul's magic.
Yes. The magic of Paul.
Who just been a more calm and understanding influence managed to get Summer to do the right thing after all.
Yeah, absolutely. Without berating her.
Post-appointment, they all descend on speed dial. Summer is really grateful to Paul, who doesn't outstay his welcome, and it annoys Todd and Billy. When it's just her and Billy, Summer admits how she's missing Paul so much.
Yes.
And later, Todd confides in Eileen that he's worried from Summer's reaction today that he's being an unsettling influence in her life, and promises to do whatever it takes to prove that he's sticking around for good, future sexual misconduct allegations notwithstanding. That was a Bruno joke.
Yes.
Back home, Todd
Hilarious.
has bought champagne and pretends to have a dodgy knee as he gets down and proposes homosexual marriage to Billy. He even displays his ring. But not like that. Billy's reaction is one of shock, so a flustered Todd rushes out. Summer, who has complained about all the upheaval recently, seems to be fine with this development.
Yeah.
Summer's out looking for Todd, runs into Paul and explains the proposal fiasco and how Billy didn't say yes. Paul hears this as Billy says no, and tries his best not to laugh. Meanwhile, Billy and Eileen, neither of whom work at the funeral parlour, are at the funeral parlour. Billy's looking for Todd and asks Eileen to pass that on to him. Todd is hiding with dead people, humiliated that Billy didn't instantly say yes to a surprise proposal when only a couple of weeks ago Billy was worried that things were moving too fast.
Right, yeah. Such a not lovable narcissist is our Todd. Just narcissism just oozes from his pores, doesn't it?
Well, that seems to be what he's motivated by more than anything.
Right, yeah. He's trying to make it all about Summer, but it's really about him being the center of the universe.
Right.
Yeah. Such a dick.
So when Billy is, for once, trying to think about Summer properly and trying to think about what's best for her,
right?
Let's slow this down.
Right.
Todd has a fit about this and rushes off. And then, like, a week later is kind of, we've all just kind of ignored that. Todd decides that he wants to get married now because this will
prove to Summer that he's sticking around and that he's settled.
Right.
That's the reason why he's doing it.
And if that happens,
not because he loves Billy so much and wants to spend the rest of his life with Billy. It's to prove to Summer that he's a good guy.
Oh, so it doesn't really matter who he's being a narcissist for.
Right.
He needs to be the centre of everybody's universe here.
Correct. Yes.
Not just Billy's.
Right.
Not just Summer's.
No. Yeah.
So, Billy is still looking for Todd and runs into Paul and the Rovers. Paul says, for what it's worth, I think you did the right thing telling him to fuck off. It is Todd after all. And Billy's all like, I didn't tell him to fuck off. And Paul's like, oh my God, Todd's a prick and he's only a decent guy when it helps Todd. Billy says Todd's changed. Paul says Billy's changed. And he brings up how Billy knocked his proposal back because of the gay thing and not being able to get married in church.
Right.
Don't come around to me when Todd shits all over you again. Probably not like that.
But maybe.
But it's a fair point.
It's a very fair point of Paul's, and it kind of breaks my heart a little bit for Paul, even though I don't want Paul and Billy to get back together because Paul deserves better.
Correct. Todd comes back wanting to forget any of today's episode has happened, apart from the summer's appointment bit. That was fine. He explains his reasons, promises not to disappear again, and Billy mentions Paul's concerns, and then he proposes because everything has to be about Billy now.
Right.
So, later, they're pulling the old angry but not really angry switcheroo on an emotionally fragile teenager.
Yeah.
When she comes in, they pretend that they're having a fight, and then Billy announces that he's proposed, and yes, huzzah, they're getting married. Fuck Paul, fuck him in the ear.
And fuck the church.
Right. Summer delivers a note that she's picked up that was on the front door that was addressed to Todd. Don't get too comfortable. Your lies will come out. He covers and says it's just from George.
Yes.
On Tuesday, Todd is doing his best to be interested in Billy's ring, and Summer
not like that.
And Summer learning to drive. But he's clearly still knocked out of sorts by the note from yesterday. He leaves in a hurry on the pretense of telling Eileen about their engagement. Off he goes, and he decides that this must be from Paul, and he's going to have it out. And he tells Paul that these tactics are beneath him, and he's not going to split them up. Paul hasn't a clue what Todd is talking about, but warns him to stay out of his face. He tells Gemma that he's gone out of his way to be civil, and this is the thanks that he gets.
Right.
Gotta feel sorry for Paul on this.
Yeah,
He's
seriously.
blissfully unaware of any of this going on.
No.
Todd gives Eileen his wedding news as he gets a threatening text from an anonymous number
Right.
that he obviously then blames on Paul. Oh, Paul's must have got a burner phone now because that's what makes most sense here.
Right. Yeah. And Eileen has some delightful patter about a fascinator.
Oh, the mere mention of wedding just gets her all fascinated up.
I
doesn't
know.
it?
I know. I don't want them to get married, but I do want to see Eileen all dolled up for a wedding.
Are
with a
fascinators
fascinator.
a new thing?
No.
I think I became first aware of them.
They're just teeny tiny hats.
I know what they are.
Oh.
During the Kate and William marriage, everyone was wearing a fascinator at that point.
Yes.
Apart from me.
Yeah.
I went to the hardware store.
I think big floppy hats are still, the de rigueur, but I think a lot of, especially younger women, prefer the fascinators. Mm-hmm. So.
On his way home, Billy has found a helpline flyer stuck to the door that says, "Ask Todd about his lies." Todd blames Paul again and brings up Paul's remark about a discount coffin because when they were arguing, Paul said, you can get a discount coffin from your employer if you get in my face again.
Right. Yeah, but Todd started it.
Right. Furious, Billy storms off to have words. So Billy and his man bag shout at Paul for a bit in Roy's Rolls and he tells Paul to stay away from him, Todd, and Summer.
Right.
Until he gets his head
Even
sorted out.
though Paul is the only calming influence Summer has in her life.
Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for Paul, Summer wouldn't have gone to her appointment.
Right, yeah.
And this would still be a thing that we'd probably still be arguing about.
Right.
So Paul obviously doesn't think that this is very fair. Then Todd is chatting with Eileen when he gets yet another text demanding a showdown at the Red Wreck. Bitch, you just been served. And at Gemma's, Paul is furious. Something about all this doesn't add up for Gemma. What's Todd's MO?
Right, yeah.
She reckons that he's guilty about something and is worried that Paul has found out.
Yeah.
Paul, bless his heart, is confused as fuck until Gemma wonders who would have access to the helpline flyers. Gemma's doing a fantastic job at being Detective Gemma here.
Yes, she is.
So Todd heads home and sees a hooded figure trying to break in. He gives chase and the figure goes A over T and is revealed not to be Paul after all, but is the return of Will.
Yes, Will I am on the street.
And he wants $3,000 to keep stum about all the low-life stuff that Todd paid him to do, which I've got a feeling we'll only know half of it. Todd is having none of it, though, and tells Will to sling his hook. You won't like me when I'm angry. In fact, you won't like me at all, ever.
No. And the number keeps going up, the longer that Todd insists he's not going to pay him.
$4,000 in.
Yeah, because you knocked me over. Now I've got an injured shoulder. I'm sure it's broken. So making it even 5.
Right. And then Todd threatens Will with a broken ankle for his troubles if he doesn't shut up.
Yeah, and I'll just put it up to 10 grand, Todd. What are you doing?
So,
I like how Will is just really not flustered at all.
He seems to
And
be
it's
somebody who has
taken
nothing to lose here.
Taken to bullying Todd right back, which is interesting.
I am thrilled about this development.
Yeah, me too.
Because this is what it takes.
Yeah.
It takes another Todd to out Todd.
Yes.
And the mistake that he makes, like months ago when all this was happening, was that at the end of it all, he didn't kill Will.
No.
Because Will was always going to come back.
Yes.
And be this kind of sand under his foreskin sort of thing.
Right.
Oh, there's an image.
Yeah.
Paul meets up with Ajay in Speed Dial. Todd's engagement comes as no surprise to Ajay. He always had an agenda, he says.
Yes. Yeah, Todd always had an agenda.
Because it turns out that Ajay never really trusted Todd at all. He wasn't a volunteering sort of person. He was just playing a part. And so it's no surprise he has something to hide. And Paul is determined to find out what that is.
It would have been really helpful, Ajay, if you'd said all of this, months ago. When you weren't trying to get your hole off of Todd.
Right. Because he said that as soon as the Will thing had happened, Todd just lost interest in Ajay and the whole volunteering thing, and that just came to an end. Right. Back home, Billy explains the Paul embargo to Summer, who isn't keen on the idea.
No.
Billy thinks it's for Paul's own good, so Summer, turncoat and coward, agrees. Secretly, Todd gets a call from Will and makes his excuses and leaves. In the community garden, Will wants $5,000 now, so Todd gives him £600. Will reveals that he kept the SIM card from that phone.
Yay!
And it has all the texts on it. And if anything happens to Will, a letter will be sent to Billy the Vicar with all the sordid details. Now pay up, Todd, or you're fucked, pal.
Yes.
I loved that as well.
Yes, that was great. Finally, it's like Carol coming back.
It is like Carol coming back.
We finally get the payoff from this stupid thing.
And the phone that was very deliberately just put
like right
on
top
of a bin.
It gives me hope. Gives me hope for other storylines.
Well, that's what I said in my intro. Kinda.
Gives me hope that, that guy who racially profiled Grace at the grocery store will finally get fired.
Right. And the cop that racially profiled Michael will get reprimanded. No, that's never going to happen.
No.
So on Friday, Will is a shit spy as he tries to follow Summer.
That was hilarious.
Who has quickly seen him tailing her. She leads him into the alleyway of doom and then springs on him, recognising that he's the guy who robbed the flat months ago.
Well, she's wearing a big, massive pink men's shirt over a pair of overalls. Like, this is a Bay City Rollers music video.
Summer likes dungarees.
Her name should be Eileen.
Eileen? There's something in there. That's not it, but there's something there.
Come on, Eileen. Oh, I swear. What I mean. At this moment, remember they were all wearing dungarees.
Yeah. You know what Dexy's Midnight Runners were?
What?
Drug dealers.
Yes.
Not the band, that's what the...
Right, yeah, Midnight Runners.
She goes to call the cops, but he begs for a minute to explain there's stuff that she needs to know.
How on earth did I get the Dexy's Midnight Runners mixed up with the Bay City Rollers in my head?
Not just in your head. You said it out loud.
I did. I blame my throat.
Okay. There.
It's like earlier this week, I called Richard E. Grant, Richard E. Martin. I'm still like mad at myself. I like on a daily basis, I'll remember that and I will get so angry at myself.
Billy meets up with Todd and Speed Dial because they're fucking dull and never eat anywhere else. Billy presents his ring.
But not like that.
And Todd's eyes fill up.
But not like that.
Then Summer comes down with someone that they both need to meet. It's Will. It's clear he's only told half a story to Summer, but he milks it for all it's worth, and Summer suggests that they should all forgive him. Todd looks like he's being eaten from the inside out. Billy is such a sap that he agrees and decides to feed Will from some of his Speed Dial dinner. he also has some contacts that might help with accommodation. So he goes off to make a few calls while Summer goes off for a shite. Will says to Todd privately that he wants his money or he can kiss goodbye to all of this.
Right. And Will makes up a story that his mum has diabetes as well.
To get an in with.
Right.
Because he's overheard lots of things, right?
Yeah.
As he's been a terrible spy
Right.
on the street. So he's heard about the diabetes. Like, oh, yeah, well, my mum's got diabetes. And
Summer's like, oh, I have diabetes too.
maybe I can help you with that.
Small world.
And then he says, well, I don't know if she's got she might have diabetes for all I know. It's hilarious.
Because Todd's like, you haven't seen your mother in years.
Yeah, so she might have diabetes.
You don't know that.
She might be Brett Michaels from Poison.
Or Wilfred Brimley.
At home, Todd thinks that Will might be beyond salvation. I don't know.
Wilfred Brimley with a bandana on his head.
I don't know why naming people with diabetes is making me laugh.
Diabetes.
It's Brett Michaels that's making me laugh.
Yes, and Wilfred Brimley and his mustache.
So at home, Todd thinks that Will might be beyond salvation and wants to keep him arm's length, especially after the whole Paul thing. Billy, the fucking sap that he is, calls Todd a good man. Privately, Todd tries to organise a loan for the, $4,000?
4,400.
Is it 4,400?
Yes, because remember, he already gave him $600, so he still owes him $4,400.
Pounds.
Pounds, yes.
Summer and Will are at Roy's Rolls when Paul comes in. What the actual fuck? He's having a hard time remembering what happened a few months ago, but he reckons that this whole Will thing, he was set up by him and he must be in cahoots with Todd and can't be trusted, but he doesn't seem to know exactly why.
Right.
Because you said you were getting beaten up by your stepdad, and didn't I got arrested for something, didn't I?
Right, yeah,
What did I get arrested for again?
Your stepdad wasn't really your stepdad. The guy who you said was your stepdad wasn't actually your stepdad.
Right.
Right.
Paul is rightfully confused. Mm-hmm. And he confronts Billy about why he's banned from seeing Summer, yet Summer is allowed to hang out with the kid who broke into the flat. Another sterling point from Paul.
Fair point, Paul.
It also comes out that Todd was the one who stopped Billy calling the police earlier. And poor Paul's brain is so frazzled by almost getting it that Gemma has to remove him and take him back to hers to deal with the shitty nappies.
Right, yes.
Come on back now, Paul.
Come on.
Want to get your chew.
But don't chew the poopy nappies, though.
He's at home. Todd has been refused a loan, which surprised me. And Billy wants his hole, but Todd doesn't have time for this. Billy mentions that Paul was talking earlier about him and Will, but Todd quickly deflects. And he goes to the funeral parlour and he opens up the petty cash, and there's a $5 in it. It's just a $5. And then he gets a text from Will, TikTok, and it's a photo of him and Summer at Speed Dial again, and they look like they're having a wonderful time.
Yeah.
And then Gemma and Paul bump into Todd later, and this time Paul plays a blinder. He doesn't get angry.
No.
He doesn't threaten any violence.
No.
But he talks about Will being back on the scene and how it's hard to tell what the truth is these days. And oh yeah, Todd, you don't know Will, do you? And isn't it going to be fun finding out all about Will in the future?
Yeah.
And Todd shits a brick.
Yes, he does.
And waddles off.
Like a wombat.
And that's as far as we get with that this week. I loved that bit at the end.
Yes. Yes, Paul and Gemma just
Paul
strolling
and
down
Gemma
the
just
street.
playing it absolutely perfectly.
Yeah.
Saying to Todd, basically, we're on to you.
Yeah.
And we know that there's a connection here, but they do it so subtly and, yeah.
It was beautiful.
Worked really well.
Yeah, it really did.
Happy about Will being back?
Yes, because it means Todd's getting his comeuppance soon. But I still don't want Paul and Billy to get back together because Paul deserves better.
Mm-hmm. I'm concerned that if Will was going to deliver and Todd was going to be on the comeuppance train, that it would have happened this week.
No.
And I'm kind of concerned that something's going to happen next week to delay this, or Will is somehow going to be removed from the picture. See?
Right, but Will has a contingency for that.
Well,
we
so he
already know
says.
that. He probably does. He seems like a smart kid.
It's the old, I've put something in an envelope and told my roommate that if anything happens, this has got to be mailed somewhere.
Right.
Do we ever believe that?
Yes,
In
because
fiction, we
it
believe that.
typically happens.
If only there was a bank safety deposit box involved as well.
It stuns me that people still even use banks safety boxes. What would you put in a bank security box? And then go visit every once in a while just to look at it. Remind yourself it's still there.
Not telling you.
I'm your wife.
Well, I'm definitely not telling you.
Oi.
I think Billy, though, needs to stop thinking about getting his hole all the time.
Right.
And start focusing on what's blatantly obvious now in front of him. What's going on here.
And he claims that all of his actions are due to wanting to, are for Summer.
Right.
But
which you said the other week. You called bullshit on that quite rightly, I think.
yes, and eventually he's going to realize his own lies. And what will this even mean, like for his job and everything? Will he still? Because if he can't get married in the church, how will the church feel about him getting married? And will he lose his archdeaconhood?
I don't think they would recognise that he's married, would they?
Yeah.
So he would have to be okay with that?
Yeah. And also it's kind of weird because you'd think that the church would have something to say about him living in sin with another man and not even being married. You'd think the church would have something to say about this sort of thing.
Kind of thinking that maybe they weren't inundated with applications for the archdeacon position. Any port in the storm. Our next storyline this morning is the disaffected children of Fizz Brown and Tyrone Dobbs. On Monday, Fizz is nursing a hangover from her sesh with Maria from last week. She still can't believe that this is Ty's idea of a fresh start, and how is she going to explain all this to the girls? This is the point that we were making. Tyrone has abandoned Fizz and his family to live the single life again.
Right.
And immediately gets him knocked up.
Right.
Good job, Tyrone.
Yeah. And now he's walking around with an empty pram.
Well, this is it.
Before even telling his daughters that they're getting a new brother or sister.
Because Alina has been pregnant for, a day and a half? And Tyrone has splurged on a very expensive-looking pram.
Yeah.
The prams are expensive.
Yes, they are.
Shockingly expensive, actually.
Yeah. Most baby stuff is shockingly expensive. That's why you just kind of buy it used. Or borrow it from your friends.
Right. Well, my pal, David Bowker, who you've met. Yeah, you've met. No chance that he listens to this. But when his wife got pregnant 20 years ago and he bought a McLaren pram for his first kid,
right?
I'm sure he said it was over £1,000.
Yeah, probably.
It's like, fucking hell, you can buy a car for that?
Yeah. Not a nice one, though.
No. So anyway, Fizz comes along and isn't impressed that he's told Kev about the pregnancy before telling Hope and Ruby, and how the girls will probably find out from Jack before they find out from him.
Yeah.
Another good point.
Yes, an excellent point.
Tyrone promises to tell them, honestly, I don't imagine either of them will give a fuck. So, in the community garden, now that Summer's fucked off from another storyline, Tyrone tells the girls, and as predicted, aside from some confusion about whose belly Tyrone's seed is swimming about in, they couldn't give a fuck. Ruby spends most of the conversation standing in the corner facing the wall like the end of the Blair Witch Project. And seriously, Hope and Ruby are becoming so disaffected that they could be Bret Easton Ellis characters.
Which means that in reality, they care a great deal and they're just pretending to be disaffected.
Oh, interesting.
Especially that Ruby in the corner. Because, at least Hope is a bit precocious and is asking questions and stuff. And Ruby's just like, meh.
Well, I wondered, and I think how they're trying to sell it later is that Ruby is now officially upset about Kirsty's death. Right,
yeah. Kirsty, who she doesn't even remember.
No. Never.
It seems like they're trying to make her, like, they keep talking about it, like, oh, we have to make her upset about this, because if she's not upset about her birth mom dying, then there's something wrong with her, which is just ridiculous.
I think the idea of not saying anything and mentioning it later when she's genuinely interested or has questions,
Right.
deal with it then.
Right.
Because she was a young wee thing.
Yes.
She's still a young wee thing.
Yes, she is.
Back at the house, Tyrone maintains to Fizz that the girls will remain his number one priority, but Ty's words don't mean much to Fizz anymore.
No.
And she reminds him of the exhaustion of newborns and Alina being clueless.
Which is a fair point. This
The girls
is Alina's
are
first.
never going to be anywhere near his
Number
number one
one.
priority.
Not anymore.
And they can't. There's no way that can happen.
No.
Because what message does that send to...
The bubby.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this bubby is actually going to get born?
I am undecided.
Right.
I'm at the... I kind of hope it isn't. Because it
Right.
just messes so much up.
Yeah. We've just had a miscarriage on the street though.
Mm-hmm.
Not too long ago. So,
Yeah.
and we haven't had an actually... No. Gemma had those quads.
4 of them. But does that count as
That
4
wasn't-
individually or 1 times 4?
Yeah. Well, regardless, it wasn't that long ago. So, God, too many people get pregnant on the show.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel very realistic in our day and age for there to be this many pregnancies on the show.
It's
It doesn't really reflect real life, does it?
contraception and mobile phone technology together have just screwed up any semblance of reality and an awful lot of
In
soap
fact,
opera
there
stuff.
are now articles being written that, we're going to have a kind of a scary decline in the population because there aren't enough babies being born.
Well, I saw I can never remember the guy's name, the Swedish guy that did a TED talk on it. I saw him do a conference keynote speech where he said that the population of the earth kind of plateaus. It doesn't exponentially keep growing and growing. Eventually it does level out because people aren't having lots of babies, because the reason that people have lots of babies is babies used to die.
Right.
That isn't happening anymore. So people
No.
aren't having lots of babies. People are having 1 or 2 babies. And
Right.
if people are having 1 baby, well, if 2 people are having 1 baby, then that's a decrease in population.
Yes.
So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. But as far as Alina, I just can't see her being a mum.
No. Especially not this soon in the show.
Right. What do you think? Do you want it to happen?
Not really. It feels like it's going to be born and then they're going to have the Oliver problem all over again.
What do you do with it once it's born?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which they're kind of already having a problem with Gemma's 4 kids, And I mean, there was a pandemic, so of course we're not going to see all 4 together. But the fact that we've only briefly seen Alid and not any of the other 3,
It's bad enough trying to get Joseph into the show
right?
at the moment, and
Yeah.
it'll be easier as we get on. But getting the kids that are there, because it's becoming like a standard joke, is like, well, you forget that Max and Lily exist, right?
Right.
And Max is kind of off an age where he could
He could
maybe be part
probably
of a
be in the-
storyline or two,
yeah,
right?
Right. Because he's, everybody over 12 should be vaccinated. Well, yeah.
But still, what we're going to do, we're going to add to this problem and throw another one into the mix that we don't know what to do with.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't go to term. But I kind of thought that maybe that would be on the back of Fizz and Tyrone realising that they've made a
Terrible mistake.
terrible mistake has been made here and just go back to each other, and then Alina's left on her own with this baby that she doesn't want, and then so
Right.
therefore she aborts it. But I don't know.
Yeah. Time is ticking on that.
And the relationship that seemed to be healing a little bit between Fizz and Tyrone
It's
a
now
couple of
back.
weeks ago, there was a bit of animosity, and
Right. And the relationship that seemed to be waning between Ty and Alina seems to have been strengthened by this baby news as well.
no, maybe it will then. Our next storyline this morning is Izzy returning to work?
I see what you did there.
Subtle as a brick.
Shit out by a wombat.
Right. On Monday, Carla is settling back into the factory that she didn't really leave and just terribly confused about her contract. But anyway, Sarah is put out until Carla says that she's resurrected the Joe Lafoe deal.
Yay.
All they need to get is those samples that Izzy's been working on. Sarah thinks that Izzy was needing more time. There is no time, says Carla. Chop chop. So Sarah FaceTimes Izzy, and it sounds like those samples aren't ready, and Kirk's going to go round to pick them up in an hour. It also seems that Izzy is entertaining a gentleman and quickly hangs up when he sticks his head into the shot. That was quite an amusing motif of this storyline, was this guy. Do we know what his name is? I'm not sure we know what his name is.
Fergus.
Do we officially know what his name is?
Fergus.
He wasn't introduced, was he? Did he introduce himself later?
I think so, yeah. Pretty sure it's Fergus. I may be thinking about something else.
So,
I often am.
right. But
His real name is the Bay City Rollers.
Right. With a bandana. But yeah, he just sticks his head into the shot every now and again, which is quite amusing. So Joe Lafoe is on her way and Kirk hasn't arrived with the samples yet. Sarah explains about how she suspects Izzy is getting all the sex after spotting that guy earlier, and Carla seems to take umbrage that Izzy is fucking like a beast while she's supposed to be working from home. Carla and Joe Lafoe meet in the bistro because sure. Carla stalls as Kirk arrives with the samples and lets slip that they were a rush job. Joe puts on her knicker-examining glasses and is not impressed with what she sees. They've been put together by someone wearing mittens, she says. Carla says that they must be rejects and she'll send over the real samples tomorrow. Back at the factory, Carla blames this shoddy work on Izzy getting her hole when she should be working and decides to have a word. Sarah, who's partially to blame for this, tells her to go easy on Izzy. So Carla gives Izzy a call on FaceTime about her shoddy work, and when the bloke's voice is picked up, Izzy panics and hangs up again. We see in Izzy's flat that there's probably little hold being gotten here. The guy is spraying things, but not like that, and shouting about a lasagna being in the oven.
He's cleaning their groceries.
Is that what he's doing? I was watching that going, what is this guy doing? It's like he's watering something.
Yeah, he's spraying the outside of the bag of lettuce to wipe any germs and stuff, which he shouldn't really be doing right next to Izzy, but that's...
and a computer and
that's okay.
Sewing stuff. And anyway, COVID isn't transmitted like that. So, Carla tells Sarah, who says it's none of her business, is when she's turning in shite, says Carla. Sarah says every business has had to deal with this, but Carla thinks it's time for folk to come back to work. She's had the vaccine, she isn't sick. She wants Sarah to tell her to come back in a way that sounds like she's asking. So Sarah calls Izzy and gently brings up the subject of returning to work. She's obviously uneasy. She quickly ends the call. In her house, the bloke tells her not to be bullied into going back to work if she's not ready. But Carla has a bee in her bonnet about this now. They wouldn't accept this kind of work from anyone else. Sarah doesn't think they can force her back to the factory, but Carla now thinks that if she doesn't come back, her position is now untenable because the knickers really were that bad. On Tuesday, Sarah gives Izzy a call again, and Izzy seems to be in much better spirits, claiming that she's sussed out the machine better now. I'm not sure what she's been doing up to then, but when Sarah explains that Carla insists that she comes back to the factory, she hangs up yet again. Sarah covers in front of Carla, blaming a Wi-Fi connection. And now it's Sally's turn to FaceTime Izzy. Sally tries to put her mind at ease, but saying now that they're back, it doesn't really feel like they've ever been away. Izzy hangs up and asks her mystery bloke who's eating a peach if he has a printer. So Carla and Sarah are out when Gary, who doesn't work at the factory, comes into the factory and he speaks with Sally about Izzy. Something's up, and she's asked him to take their kid, Declan O'Mcgillicuddy.
Permanently.
Yeah. Sally wonders if it's got something to do with coming back full time, and Gary's kind of weird. Is this do you know this or do you just think this? Mm-hmm. And when Sally says, well, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? It goes, oh, well, you just think it. What are you noising up Sally for? She's trying to fucking help you idiot.
This is Gary we're talking about.
Yeah. He goes to see Izzy, but she's not answering her door or her phone. And then the bloke calls Sarah and reveals himself to be Izzy's neighbour. He tells Sarah on the download that Izzy hasn't been outside for more than a year and isn't ready to come back to work. Izzy comes back from doing her shite and confirms that she's quitting, and then she hangs up again. She doesn't want this job anymore. Sarah goes to tell Carla about Izzy resigning and the bloke saying that she's not ready to come back. Carla is being a bit unreasonable and says that if
She really
Izzy is resigning, she'll have to do it through her. So Sarah, Sally and Kirk corner Carla in the Rover, well that wasn't easy to say, about her handling of the Izzy situation. It won't wait until tomorrow, but Carla won't be swayed. They're running a business, not a therapy centre, and she's not scared to be seen as the bad cop here. Then on Friday, Peter's back, and it seems that as well as organ transplants, the hospital offers a similar barber service as the prison, because he looks like a young Johnny with his hair swept back like that.
Yes, he's been bit by a vampire.
It always surprises me. I don't know if this is a me thing necessarily, or a man thing necessarily, but
Right.
I think I've changed my hair 4 times in my life. When I was a wee boy, I had the Beatles haircut
Right.
with a bowl.
Yes.
Then I had a side parting because my dad had a side parting, which developed into a mullet. And then I had a kind of French crew cut
Yeah,
thing.
because that's how mullets develop, out of a side part.
Well, I still had the side part, but I had the mullet.
Right, yes, which is 2 different hairstyles.
Together at last, during what I call my barren spell. Then I had the French crew cut, and then the hair fell out.
Right.
So was that 4 or 5?
It's like 6.
Was it?
You can't count the side part and the mullet as one. You had the side part,
Okay.
and then you had the mullet.
Okay. So, Beatles, side part, mullet.
And then, like, when it fell out,
Crew cut.
at first you were trying to pretend that it hadn't fallen out, so you had that thing, that comb over thing, so that
was
so
a
that
comb
counts.
forward.
The comb forward, and then you just went pure bald, which is how I see you today, in all of your
Balding.
loveliness. Because as we have established this week, bald men are sexy,
Well,
especially beardy balded men.
6 haircuts in 47 years. I don't know. It just seems strange that Johnny is now combed back, as is Peter. But he suits it and he's looking so well.
Yes, like a vampire.
They're looking for a fresh start in a flat above a cab office. Good luck with that. Later at the factory, Carla hasn't let Izzy go yet, but it means others will need to pick up the slack, although she's let Izzy think that the deadline has been extended. Sally doesn't think this is going to be possible. She can't take no more, Captain. Sarah doesn't think Izzy will appreciate other people doing her work.
Well done with
What do you want from me? Says Carla.
Done with the Star Trek reference. That's usually my gig.
Well, you didn't jump in there. So Carla has now gone from being a kind of hard-assed business owner on Tuesday to now lying to Izzy about the contract stuff.
It makes me... it made me feel like maybe I'd missed something because of this change of heart.
Right. And this will not have been easy for you, given that the episodes were in the wrong order on BritBox anyway.
Yeah, it was that, which was really strange.
But
yeah, it's like she has this change of heart, and we really don't understand why. Is it because Peter's back?
is it?
And
That's
so
the only
she's
thing that's
become-
changed.
She's become a bit more of a softie about people with illnesses, because she's reminded of people with illnesses now that Peter's back, looking like a vampire. They really do need to dress like the Addams Family for Halloween this year.
Oh, excuse me, winter pops. So the weird bloke that lives with Izzy calls Sarah, and apparently Izzy isn't going to hit this extended deadline and needs it pushed out even further. Sarah's in the middle of explaining that the deadline is bullshit and they're basically treating Izzy like a charity case when Izzy sticks her head in and insists that she's hard at work. At the factory, they need a better plan than letting Izzy slowly make substandard underwear. Carla agrees, but has Peter to worry about, which is a great get out of jail free card to play whenever. And then Sally and Sarah are chatting about being honest with Izzy when Izzy calls and Sarah starts lying immediately about a JLF flexible deadline. Izzy smells bullshit and Sally doesn't think it'll be long before the truth comes out. And that's as far as we get with that this week. What did you think about hard-assed Carla?
It's beyond, just the bit that's confusing that she does this complete 180 and that's not fully explained. I do really enjoy the storyline, and I'm glad that it's something being addressed, because it's, this is unlike everybody popping babies out every once in a while. This is actually true to life. This is a storyline that's actually addressing things that people are going through right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even we're like, they're talking about you having to go back to work at least 2 days a week in September and stuff. And even that kind of gives us pause a little bit, even though we were just on vacation. But, it's like everybody's sort of trying to find their new normal, and what am I comfortable with now and what am I not comfortable with? And the fact that people with disabilities have had it so hard already, and now people are kind of like, oh, well, it's over. So everybody back to the way things were, and people with disabilities are like, wait a second, we're finally kind of being taken seriously with the lockdown and everything, and now you just want to shove us back out into society. It's a good storyline, and I'm glad that they're doing it, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a bit that I kind of forget or didn't appreciate, that Izzy hasn't been outside.
No.
And that's kind of terrifying when you think about it.
Yeah.
To then suddenly be demanded to go back outside. This would be handled a bit more incrementally than just, you need to come back to work now.
You think that.
Right.
And you would hope that. But I don't think that's necessarily the case for all people.
I'm not sure the factory has an HR department.
No.
And it's maybe Sarah, if it is.
Or Toya. Yeah. So I do like her giant rabbit, though.
There's a giant rabbit?
The giant golden rabbit behind her. You didn't see the giant rabbit?
No.
Gosh.
I didn't see was it an invisible rabbit?
You need your eyes checked.
No, that's my Harvey. That was where I was going.
Oh, okay. You're going to go the Harvey route and not the Donnie Darko route.
Right. They've not seen a giant rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Gosh, that's a trope now, isn't that?
Mm-hmm. I need to go back a couple of days a week.
Yeah.
But the smart money is 6 months after, we'll be fully back in the office.
Yeah.
After getting, well, it doesn't really make any difference if you're working from home or working in the office. You're still getting your stuff done. And actually, you do more work at home because you think that you're being monitored more closely to make sure that you're logging in on time and logging out on time, sort of thing. But people like to see bums on seats.
Sure.
The next storyline this morning is Easterly Gail. You got something to say about that?
No.
On Monday.
I was going to say I like what you did with that, but honestly, I just don't.
On Monday, Gail's home from hospital. It seems that no one's picked her up to bring her home, which is typical.
It's so typical.
She announces to Nick and David that she's fucking off to Thailand tomorrow and then goes up the stairs to pack.
What is it with her in Thailand?
She loves the Thailand.
I mean, Thai food is delicious.
But you can get it here or there.
Can you, though?
Thai food? Yeah.
I mean, you can get it here. There are Thai restaurants in places in America that have no Thai people in it. Right. Apparently, the Thai government has done this on purpose. It's like this. The Thai government has...
Get your tinfoil out, people.
No, this is actually true.
Uh-huh.
That they want people to become aware of Thailand and come visit Thailand. And so they've done this, like, they bring chefs and stuff to Thailand to learn how to make Thai food and then help fund their Taiwanese restaurants. Or not Taiwanese, because that would be Taiwan, not Thailand.
Right.
They're Thai restaurants, yes.
That's a strange crossover, just getting Thai people to cook Taiwanese food just to confuse people. I'm not against that idea, but that's not what's happening.
No. Thai food is delicious.
It is. And yes, you can get it in the UK. Later, David still doesn't believe her, but she has a one-way ticket to the last place that she was happy. Finally, it strikes David that he's on the hook now for his own kids' childcare.
His own invisible children.
While Gail is off looking after herself, and of course David's not happy about that.
No.
Natasha and Sam land on number 8 to give Gail a card. No one else has given Gail a card.
No.
Absolutely
Sam has
no
made
one.
this beautiful card with pennies on it. Mm-hmm. Where did he get those pennies?
From his pocket, probably. Nick tries to put them off, but when they talk about coming back tomorrow, he says maybe it's best to see her now then, so Sam runs up the stairs with his card for Granny Gail. Natasha, still pissed about the kidnapping and gunshot things, leaves to go to the shops. Gail has come downstairs and thanked Sam for saving her life. It's what anyone would have done, says Sam. Yeah. Yeah.
You'd like to think that, Sam. But you don't really know your family very well yet, do you?
I think that's enough for now, says Nick, before Gail has a chance to point out that her own sons weren't exactly on top of the situation. Sam says he'll see her tomorrow. Nick is happy to let Sam be under the impression for 24 hours, but Gail tells the truth. She's going to Thailand. Sam is upset and blames Nick and rushes out of the house. You and your fucking family, says Natasha. But it turns out Sam blames her.
As well, yes. And he's not wrong.
On Tuesday, Gail's having second thoughts about Thailand because of Sam, which puts David's nose out of joint. She's a go-between between Natasha and Nick, and David says he'll miss her but thinks that she should go. Later, Gail is expecting a visit from Sam and Natasha, and she finds Nick in the kitchen making a picnic. She shoos him out as Sam comes in, and he will not shut the fuck up about truffle trees. He's bought one to plant, but the back garden is still a bit sinkholey at the moment, says Gail.
Right.
And she's trying to shoo Nick out because Natasha doesn't want.
Yeah.
Right. So Shonat, David and Leanne are gathered in the rain outside the hair salon, I think, chatting about Gail having second thoughts about leaving because of the whole Sam thing. Shonat is definitely Team Natasha here. But David thinks that Nick should be able to see his son regardless of the number of times he's indirectly put him in mortal danger. Leanne considers both positions and sucks a thoughtful tooth. So Sam's outside playing in the sinkhole when Gail makes another case for Nick being in Sam's life, and then Leanne comes in to do the same. She takes responsibility for putting Sam in mortal danger. She promises Sam will be safe. She begs for a reassessment and then wishes Gail a safe trip and leaves. Mm-hmm. So Natasha tells Nick that he can see Sam, and then for the third or fourth time makes an idle threat about keeping them safe. If he comes home with just a scrape on his knee,
so much as a plaster on his knee,
I will do nothing.
You're out of here.
In comes Sam, and fucking hell, he's still going on about that truffle tree. So a day after being discharged from hospital after a heart attack, Gail's getting a taxi to Thailand. Audrey has been asked to come along to make sure that she goes. She tells Nick to send photos of Sam. He promises to do so. He absolutely won't bother.
No.
Then on Friday, Natasha hasn't waited long and has chucked Sam at Nick while she goes and looks for new places to live in leafy suburbs. Sam doesn't want to live in the Leaves. He wants to live in Weatherfield. And then later we see Nick rolling down their street in a Renault Megane.
Yes.
Sam's trying to dog PE at school after his eye test thing that he was scheduled for, and Nick can't be budged. Natasha overhears this.
Yes, because he took PE in university.
Which is what's happening in classic core at the moment. And is impressed that Nick stood his ground with his son. She'll let Nick see Sam more now, especially with Gail being away and me not having a childminder.
Right.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
So is Daniel still tutoring Sam?
No idea. I'm guessing not.
What is even going on here?
I'm kind of worried that Gail's off long term here.
Yeah, permanently.
There's a significance of a black cab that I think is more an EastEnders thing.
Yeah.
That's if you go off in a black cab, that's never a good sign.
No.
But she got the black cab, but she didn't get the back seat, the black cab shot, which I think is probably COVID.
She's off to extort money from Eileen's son.
Right.
Who's also in Thailand.
And Sophie and the other one.
Isn't Sophie in Paris?
No, she's been touring the Far East with the other one. What's her name? Kate.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was thinking of the other girl. What's her name? The blonde with a baby.
Rosie, she's in Japan.
Who's in France then? I thought they were in France.
Eva.
Oh, Eva's in France. That's right.
Nicola's in Birmingham. No, Bristol.
Yes.
Whew. Jeez.
And she's also the face
Let's not do the Blackpool thing again because I'm just settling down after that. Yeah, I feel really sorry for Gail here because she's finally got someone
who really loves her
and is pleased to see her and
and
runs
wants to
to her
spend time with her.
and makes her cards and treats her
Yes.
like a maternal figure in his life.
Right. Not even Max and Lily do that.
Nobody does that. And he's finally got someone who doesn't put him in mortal danger anymore.
Right. And who genuinely loves him and will keep him safe.
Why are we splitting this two up?
I don't know. They were so cute together. Maybe Helen Mirren just needs a break off.
Helen Mirren?
not
Maybe
Helen
she
Mirren.
does. Maybe Helen Mirren does need a break, but maybe let's think about Helen Worth, who is...
Yes. It's the drugs, people. It's the drugs.
Well, I don't know why Brett Michaels is going to Thailand, but...
With Wilfred Brimley. And his mustache.
Okay, we only have 2 more to go. We're nearly there. I just need you sitting up for another 20 minutes.
Please hurry.
Our penultimate storyline is tag teaming Eileen. On Tuesday, Sean and Eileen are arguing in the rain about Sean moving
But
back
not like
in.
that. Tag teaming, Eileen.
You're way too late with that. Not like that. Eileen is pleased that Sean assumes that he can just move back in, especially when it looks like he won't be good for rent for a bit. He flounces off when Todd arrives. So Todd is under the impression that Paul is... that's, right.
What's from another story?
So in another storyline, Todd is under the impression that Paul is behind the poison leaflet messages.
Blah, blah,
And
blah,
when
blah, blah.
he and Eileen leave the Rovers, the Undertaker suggests a tag team with Sean in which they both bum each other up to Eileen to get in her
But
good
not
books.
like that.
So Sean has a place to live and the Undertaker can be on Eileen's arm at Todd's wedding.
Hmm.
And on Friday, the Undertaker and Sean catch up in the street and remind us all of this pincer movement shite that's apparently a thing now. The Undertaker puts his plan into action in Roy's Rolls and starts enthusing about Sean and how his heart's in the right place and he misses living with Eileen. And Eileen is tough to wear down, but she eventually agrees that she should cut him some slack.
You know what's funny? It was this storyline especially that made me so confused.
Was it?
When the 2 episodes on BritBox were switched. Because, because the plan was already in play in the first episode I watched.
Right.
And then they talk about, this is when I realized that they were switched. It's like they just started the conspiracy of tag teaming Eileen.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wait a second, you guys were talking about this last episode. What's going on here?
Right. Yeah, it doesn't help that they start talking about it again, though, as if they
Right.
haven't been talking about it.
Right.
In the Rovers, Sean returns the favour by calling the Undertaker full of life and positivity and a hunk of spunk into the bargain.
Ew.
If only he was a woman, says Sean. Eileen
Right.
thinks that she's wandered into the Mutual Appreciation Society for Weirdos, and that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yes.
I don't really have very much to say about that.
No. I like the team up of Sean and the Undertaker though.
Yeah, Sean wasn't really annoying.
No. He did flounce
Just once.
twice.
Well, once and a half. The second one wasn't.
Well,
really
the second
like
one was at a
spin.
different storyline.
Yeah.
Because he flounces with Daisy
Oh, he does, yeah.
with the cocktails. Mm-hmm. But not like that.
I think you've said, but not like that too many times.
But not like that. Or actually, what I should say is, that's what she said. It's funny in my head, okay? Keep going.
Okay. Our final storyline this morning is A Daisy Between Two Roses. On Monday, Ryan is in his undercrackers playing dance music for the local Blue Tit. Alya comes home and announces that she's got him an interview with Debbie for a job at the bistro. She doesn't care that he wants to focus elsewhere so long as it pays for their own place. He's in his pants talking about where he wants to focus his energies.
Mm-hmm. And he's in his pants for no good reason.
Well,
Because
there are
then,
people who will argue with that.
well, yes. But as far as the show, as far as the storyline's concerned, there's no real reason why he's in his undercrackers. Because then Alya says, well, since you're already in your undercrackers, let's go upstairs. And he says Yasmin is up there. Mm-hmm. So he's walking around in his pants in front of his girlfriend's grandmother? Mm-hmm. What's going on there?
In answer to your question, no doubt coming up, no, I wouldn't.
Yasmin or Ryan?
No, I wouldn't wander around in my pants in front of your mum.
Or my grandmother. Which would be difficult because she's dead.
In that case, that would just be disrespectful, wouldn't it? No, I thought, here we go.
I'm just trying to imagine it.
Here's the setup. Alya suddenly deciding to set up Ryan with interviews.
Right.
Which is kind of overstepping the mark. Did I say kind of? It's definitely overstepping the mark.
I don't know.
State my business, woman.
It's her business too, because they want to settle down together and get their own place and stuff. She's just trying to be helpful.
Well, he should be saying, I can organise my own interviews, thank you very much. I appreciate your effort.
But let's be honest, it's Ryan. He really can't.
Well, if she doesn't want that from her boyfriend, then she needs to let him know. But he needs to be the one responsible for where he works.
It's Ryan.
And if that's not
you.
what she wants...
She wants Ryan.
Well, clearly she doesn't, because this is Ryan.
She wants the sexy aspects of Ryan. How's that? Is that better?
In the Rovers, Ryan is filling out an online application talking
not
about
like that.
selling out, but doing the responsible thing.
Yeah, see,
Daisy
he's trying to be responsible. He's doing the right thing. It's good.
But he's not doing the responsible thing because he wants to do the responsible thing. He's doing the responsible thing because someone wants him to do the responsible thing.
And
There's
because
a
he
difference.
loves that person.
Daisy poo-poos this change in tact and has an idea about how he can make some decent money doing something that he loves. Daisy's idea is a mobile pub and DJ in folks' back's garden. That sounds awful. Jenny will give it some thought.
Apparently it is a thing, though, thanks to the pandemic.
Right. Alya comes into the Rovers and hears Daisy and Ryan enthused about the mobile DJ idea and becomes a tad suspicious when she sees Daisy give Ryan one of those looks.
Right. It's kind of like, I mean, booze cruises have been around for a while where you all get on a bus and get drunk and just drive around.
Uh-huh.
So it's not that much different from that, only you're just...
Because that's exactly like something in your back garden.
Because it's just the bus coming to your back garden instead of you going all around. You know, or like those things where you bike.
Oh, those are awful. I'm surprised that people don't plough into them more often, because I think I would. And this
Who
was
wants
our...
to get drunk and pedal at the same time?
But there's only ever one person fucking pedaling, and everyone else is...
Well, then they'd never move.
They move very slowly, which is why they would get ploughed into. And this was our hot debate. That woke you up.
Don't do that.
And at this point, we were looking at Daisy was trying to steal Ryan. So which team were people? Were they Team Alya? Were they Team Daisy?
Most people are Team Alya, aren't
Or
they?
were they Team Underpants? Team Daisy came in last at 11.7%.
Who's voting for Daisy?
And then it was kind of close between Team Alya and Team Underpants. Team Underpants came in...
Underpants doesn't make any sense. They don't want him to be with anyone, just walk around in his underpants.
I guess that's what that means. That came in at 41.7%.
Of course.
Team Alya was 46.6%. So
Wait.
Team Alya won by less than 5%. It was Team Alya, your underpants, and then Daisy.
Yeah, you alone in your underpants, I'm assuming.
You can have fun on your own in your underpants. On Tuesday, Daisy and Ryan are discussing a photo shoot for their new business, which is kind of cart before the horse, but never mind. When Alya comes in, she's been interfering again, and apparently the bistro will accept a part-time commitment from Ryan. Daisy is quick to piss over these chips, but Ryan is focused on publicity shots right now.
What's wrong with working at the bistro that Debbie will just hire just anybody?
Right.
Even people who don't come in for an interview.
And people who currently work at the Rovers.
Right.
Then
It's almost as if too many people have died or been shot in the bistro and nobody wants to work there anymore.
It's almost like that.
It's almost like that.
Then Daisy gets news of a gig. It's today. It's Simon's 18th. Which Peter couldn't get out of the hospital for. Just one day early. Okay. Ryan and Daisy are setting up for Simon's 18th in the community garden.
Well, here's the thing. It's his actual 18th birthday. But they were planning on having like a family party and stuff on Saturday.
Oh, I'm sure they were. Alya comes along and isn't sure about any of this, particularly a photo shoot. Daisy has a mate who has a boutique and will do a deal for her, but when that doesn't butter Alya's muffins, Daisy offers to take her place. So long as one influencer is there, it should be all good. And they can go fuck themselves. In speed dial, Alya's complaining about Daisy to Yasmin. Yasmin gives her some cash to go and see Daisy's boutique mate and call her bluff. If she really has a mate, she can get a deal. If she doesn't have a mate, then you'll know all about it. The rave in the community garden is as lame as you'd expect. Alya comes in a dress that she picked up from the boutique, but then Daisy comes in wearing the same dress, only shorter and with more tits. Alya is not fooled. This has been a deliberate setup.
Yes.
The photo shoot has been a resounding success because of Daisy's photography skills. Alya wants to go into town with Ryan, seeing as she's all dressed up, but Daisy demands that he helps clear up the garden, which is actually fair.
Yeah.
Alya is home and in her sweatpants now when Ryan comes home, oblivious to the whole Daisy thing. Daisy starts texting him and he's quite secretive when there's kisses in it. Alya's had enough. Tells him that he's too stupid to see how desperate she is for his bobby, and she also makes the mistake of calling his DJing a hobby and assumes that he's as into the settling down and getting a place thing as she is. He's pissed and he goes off for a walk. On Friday, the next day, Ryan is still in a mood. Alya apologises in one breath, but then poo-poos his chances for success in the other because there's far too many DJs out there. What chance have you got? He wants her support and has another gig tonight thanks to Daisy. Alya offers to come with, and Ryan reckons that she only wants to come because Daisy will be there and thinks it's best if she just stays at home. It's blowing a gale when Alya and Daisy stand off outside the tram station. They exchange barbs as Daisy makes it clear that she's in the market for some of Ryan's dad's bod. Alya's umbrella gets blown inside out and no one acknowledges it.
No.
In the pub, Daisy grasses up Alya to Ryan and insists that they're just mates. She doesn't want to be the reason that they split up, but she'll be there for him tonight, shaking her maracas. And then she shakes, not her maracas.
Mm.
At speed dial, Alya
Her euphemistic maracas.
Mm-hmm. Alya complains about Daisy being so beautiful when Yasmin calls Ryan a rock and urges Alya to trust him, and she should knock off early and go watch his set. Go fight for your man, but no smashing faces in quite yet.
Right.
She makes a good point, Yasmin, that, you know, if Ryan is going to be a DJ, then he's going to have women thrown himself.
Right.
And Ryan, to his credit, or his stupidity,
right,
really isn't showing any interest in Daisy whatsoever at this point.
Absolutely not. It's nice to have the old Yasmin back, isn't it?
Yes. And when she was able to say how Ryan was such a help with the whole Tim's dad thing.
Right.
And she mentions Tim's dad's name
without shuddering.
Mm-hmm, which got to be progress, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Later, the gig is off because the warehouse that it was going to be in has been flooded. Daisy, who has now imposed herself as Ryan's manager,
damn you, climate change,
suggests that rather than go home to Alya, he stays in the pub with her and test drives some cocktails. Ryan, who is now thick as shit, doesn't think anything of it and agrees. I didn't like how she decides that she's his manager now, and he's so subservient and he just goes along with it.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, okay, sure.
Daisy's trying to get Jenny out to fuck. Oh, that sounds terrible. Daisy's trying to get rid of Jenny, but Jenny quickly works out that Daisy has a fella coming round. Daisy is forced to confess, but not who it is, and urges Jenny to leave because meeting the stepmom on the first date is likely to throw a spanner in the works, so to speak. In the back room, Ryan appreciates Daisy's support and positivity, much better than his stupid girlfriend. They start the cocktail tasting, and it seems that Ryan is in the mood for getting lashed. He nips out for a pish, and of course he leaves his phone, and of course Alya calls, and of course Daisy dingies it and stuffs it down the back of the sofa. A few cocktails later, and Ryan is getting misty-eyed for Ibiza. Daisy turns on the womanly wiles, suggesting that she's a quiet soul and only Ryan is able to get her. No one gets her. This is true, and Ryan thinks that she gets him too. More cocktails, he demands. So Daisy is making more cocktails in the front of the house when Alya comes in looking for Ryan. Daisy reckons that he's out with his mates doing what guys do. Alya's not impressed. She's met girls like Daisy before. It always ends badly for them. Pfft, says Daisy. And back at speed dial, Alya is now fuming. Yasmin urges calm and offers to take her out for a meal at the bistro to unwind. She's sure Ryan will be perfectly safe wherever he is. And wherever he is still at the Rovers, properly pissed now, but reckons that he needs to leave. Daisy lays it on a plate and starts to feel up Ryan's hole of his jeans. And that's how we end this week's episodes.
Yes. And again, I was really disappointed because I saw this and then I was really confused that the next episode I watched had nothing to do with this. It's like, wait, does he or doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on here? What's going on here is sexual assault.
The awkward question of consent comes up
Yes.
once again.
Yes.
And I think
In
there's a
this show.
danger that when we're dealing with a woman being manipulative
Right.
and of a man, that it's almost played as comedy a little bit,
Yeah.
which is
Although the Coronation Street Twitter feed did have a, if you've been affected by this storyline about the whole Ryan and Daisy thing. And I do have to admit that at first I didn't really even think about consent in the storyline. And that is my bad. That, if the roles were reversed, that would immediately be, my red flags would be going up, and this is really problematic. But
Right.
that it took me a moment because Ryan is a man, and that is my bad. And
Oh, no, it's easy to do.
absolutely. And so
But yeah, we're talking about somebody getting somebody else drunk to get them into bed.
right, and that's a bad thing
Yeah, in any
in any shape or form.
Right.
It does make this storyline a bit more interesting, though, because when this storyline was first being talked up and stuff, I just assumed that Ryan was going to fall into bed with Daisy because Alya's being a nag. But it seems like he genuinely loves Alya and wants to be with Alya, and that Daisy is kind of forced to do this, which also kind of doesn't make an awful lot of sense for Daisy's character because she seems to be very much a long game type of person. And also, why Ryan?
Right.
Why manipulate Ryan when there are single men on the street and they're smarter than Ryan and
Right.
better at life than Ryan?
Yeah, I think you're right in that part about the show seeming to set it up as being a naggy girlfriend pushes boyfriend away into another
Right.
woman's arms type thing. That did seem to me how
And
it
I
was
mean,
getting set up.
That's absolutely a trope of, musicians
Oh yeah,
and DJs, to the point where it was lampooned in the walk hard, spoofy biopic movie. The naggy wife or girlfriend says, "Oh, you're never going to be famous. This is never going to work. You need to get a regular job."
Right.
And pushes the man into another woman's arms, essentially.
yeah. You just don't understand my craft, baby. You don't understand
Right.
that I'm creating here.
Right.
Well, yeah, create some money.
Johnny Cash and June Carter all over again.
Right.
But so it's always disappointing when Corey falls into very tired tropes. But the fact that they've added this whole
Yeah, there's a shift in it.
that makes it interesting. It makes it uncomfortable. But it does make it more interesting, and it makes me wonder what Monday's going to be like.
Right.
I'm actually looking forward to the next episode. And that hasn't happened in a while.
Yeah, I don't. Well,
It hasn't happened in a while for me.
I haven't been. I'm never keen to see Daisy.
Whereas I kind of like Daisy.
Even now?
Well, when I say I like Daisy, I like the introduction of a character like Daisy, but because for her generation, there really isn't a character like this yet, whereas for the older generation, we have Tracy. She fills a void of being not squeaky clean amongst a group of essentially squeaky clean kids who only get into trouble when people manipulate them and groom them into doing bad things. Simon would have never thought to become a drug dealer by himself, for example.
You put them in the same kind of age group?
Simon and Daisy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Simon's 18 and Daisy's like, what, 22? 23 maybe?
Well, I had her more kind of mid-20s than that. She was
Yeah.
off to go and get married and stuff. I put her maybe 25, 26. Either way, I think it's interesting that you mentioned Tracy, because the thing that jumped to my mind with all this was when Tracy drugs Roy and lets him believe that they've slept together and is
Right.
now the father of Amy, and therefore give me some money.
Right.
Kind of put that little
Yes.
bit in my mind. But the thing that I think I miss from Daisy's character is motivation, and I think you mentioned it as well, like why Ryan?
Yeah.
And it's like, why Ryan? Why Jenny? Why the pub? Why double glammy? And I
Well-
don't get any of the reasons of why she
Jenny,
is so
because she's
bitchy about any of this, and why she's so determined to be a bad character or a heel in storylines, when I'm not sure what any of this gives her other than a roof over her head.
Well, I think she's a heel because she's a heel. You know, I'm kind of tired of characters being bad because reasons. You know, oh, they had a terrible childhood and that's what makes them bad. Some people are just bad people.
Yeah, it doesn't
And
really
I'd
make for
rather-
satisfying viewing, though. Well, for me anyway.
And I think it makes her more satisfying for me that although she did explain, you know, that she's bad because Jenny left her and her dad married somebody
I
else who
don't
didn't
believe
like
any
her.
of that. I think that's all a lie.
And it probably is, you know, and that's a saving grace, is that it's probably all just a lie and she's just bad to be bad, you know. And I think we need more characters who are bad just because they're bad and not because they had terrible childhoods. I'm kind of tired of that trope.
I don't think it
I don't-
necessarily
I like-
has to be a childhood thing, but I just want to understand why she is,
And Jenny
why
is,
she's this character.
it feels like Jenny is her last resort. And Jenny actually genuinely seems to care about her, so she's sticking around as long as she can. But the whole Ryan thing is the thing that, because like I said, and again, it's kind of like the whole Alina and Tyrone thing. There are, for both Alina and Daisy, there are young single men on the street. We don't have to be breaking up families or breaking up relationships to
Right.
give these two female characters a relationship. You know, so why? And I guess the whole Alina Tyrone thing, the why is Tyrone's going through his midlife crisis a few years early, and you know, his relationship with Fizz is kind of fizzled out, so to speak.
Right.
You know, it's plateaued, so that kind of explains his motivation. Alina's motivation is still kind of up in the air. I guess we kind of explain it the way Maria explained it with, well, you know, she was trafficked and everything. So she's looking for somebody who has a history of being steady and a good provider, you know, and everything. But Ryan, I guess he's cute.
Oh, he's a cute man, I think, isn't he? I mean, it's not quite my type. But.
Well, no. But you know, he's attractive, but
In a homely way.
he's not very bright. He's not necessarily a great provider. I mean, Yasmin's right. He's been a rock for her and Alya and been very supportive
To a point. I
of
think he was a
them,
bit
you
of a-
know, and he pushed back quite a few times against Tim's dad. And there's a lot of men who wouldn't have stuck around with Alya through all of that. So, you know, but that's a reason for Alya and Yasmin to keep him around. That's not really, I don't see that as something that would motivate Daisy or anyone to try to steal him away from Alya.
Yeah,
The
but-
only thing I can think of is that she's evil, and so she wants to take something from someone else, and it's the thrill of the hunt more than what you're hunting.
Right. Which would kind of go a bit in agreement with her desire just to split Jenny and Johnny up for no real
Right.
reason.
Yeah.
Other than Johnny's a bit older.
Right. And
Again, it isn't an attractive man. It's
yeah,
going to be about that.
because with Jenny, it's not It's not that she wants Jenny all to herself, because she was very eager to hook Jenny up with that guy at the
that
bar.
Guy. Yeah, remember that guy.
Or with Ronnie. You know, she's perfectly happy keeping Ronnie around. So who knows? I kind of like the idea of her not being motivated by anything other than wanting to be a troublemaker, and that's honestly appealing to me, because too much of this world, people keep trying to explain it away. You know, like the whole Cruella thing. You know, she's bad because this. Not just she's bad because her family was involved in this evil devil worshipping cult, which is what's in the actual real 101 Dalmatians book, by the way, which I kind of love that kids' books used to go so dark. But you know, I don't know. I think
we want to understand things, because if we understand things, we can fix things. I think as a society and as a species, that's kind of who we are. We want to understand why things work and why things are the way they are. So when that's not apparent, it's difficult to connect with it.
It kind of drives you crazy, because there are things in the world that you just can't explain and just are. And I think Daisy is one of those things.
Corey should be one of the things that we can explain. Ryan is subservient and he's a pushover. Maybe that's why she finds him appealing, is that he'll do her bidding.
Yeah,
probably.
She seemed to really find it appealing to spar with Daniel, though. So, you know.
Yeah, but she's not trying to.
I'm just trying to match Daniel with somebody. I've tried to put him with Nina. I've tried to put him with Paul. Now I'm trying to put him with Daisy.
Well, I think on that note, we should draw a veil over the week that was Coronation Street. What was your moment of the week?
Oh, God. What was your moment of the week?
Paul and Gemma with Todd. I loved that.
Yeah, that was really good.
I just loved the look on Todd's face.
I love Paul having a storyline again, because I've been missing Paul.
Me too.
It's just nice to have him back. And I love it. I love it when Gemma and Paul team up together.
Yep.
It makes both characters better.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, an easy sell then.
Yes, that
is our
moment of the week.
Look, I hit the right button and we've been away for a couple of weeks from this thing.
Bravo you.
Thank you very much. That's I had a 1 in 9 chance. Your boring moment of the week.
George and Sean tag teaming Eileen. Although I kind of like that, so maybe not. There's something about it that's appealing, but also not appealing.
Is it Sam's tree?
Oh God, Sam talking about truffle trees. Yes, that's absolutely our boring moment of the week.
Thank you very much.
Boring moment of the week.
Right, you can go back to your bed now.
Thank you.
I've got my use out of you.
Wow, that sounds really not
And by
great.
the way, that's for keeps. If you've ever been banned from somewhere, let us know. We're the talk of the street at gmail.com, and we're at Corey Podcast on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. You can shout me and Helen a coffee by heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the
Please,
talk
I
of the
need
street.
the fluids.
Check out the clicky section of vogle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel, and keep an eye out for our YouTube channel, because this episode is going to have a new look to it.
Woohoo!
I'm quite excited about this.
Yes.
And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode, and we will be back next week with more
A talk of the street.
Talk of the Street. Cheerio!